Okay guys, before you start watching this video, I just want to make sure that you watch the entire video all the way through before you start working on stuff, because I might skip something, then go back and cover it later, and it might be something that you need to know. It might be something little, might be something big. Just make sure you watch the entire video all the way through before you start working on the stuff, just in case. It's always something that's best to do when you're watching a tutorial video. So, hope this video helps you guys, and see you later. What's up, this is Dead Ted, and today we are going to be showing you how to wire up an amp and some subs. So right here we've got our amp from Elux, I guess is how you pronounce it. That came in this box. This actually, all of this wiring kit and these two subs right here, they all came as a package deal together on Amazon. Don't know how much it was. I got it for Christmas. So we've got our amp, we got our two subs, we've got this, which I have no clue what it is. That was just in there all wound together with it. We got our fuse, power cable, RCA cables, ground cable, and speaker cable.
And then all the connectors.
And then all our different connectors, and it's got some zip ties in there for us. Then this has got our Allen wrench key things in there for tightening up these, and the ports on the amp itself. And it's also got our fuse that sticks into the side of the amp. And it's also got mounting screws in it to mount the amp. So, first thing that we'll need to do, I guess, is some things you'll need is you will need wire cutters to strip the wire. With wire of this size, this is 4-gauge wire, 4-gauge cable. With stuff this size, most wire strippers are not really going to work with this, so you really just use either scissors or a knife and just twist it around the thing until it pops off, or if you until it gets through the rubber, or they make other wire strippers that are just a thing that you open it and put it on there and then just twist it around like that. I don't have any of those, so I'm going to be using my pocket knife to do it. So we'll see you out in the truck. Okay, so for this part, you're going to need your ground wire, power wire. Then these things came with the wire kit as well. This will go onto the end of it, and then it will go through there, and it's just to cover it up so you don't have to tape it or nothing. So, or you can also use electrical tape for that. I'm probably going to tape the thing on there. Your fuse and a knife of whichever you desire. So first things first, I'm gonna, should I pull this thing out of here?
Yeah, I don't even know why it's like that's on that right now.
I don't either. I don't know why it's on it at all, let alone right now.
Well, if you're gonna run it through something that could cut into the wire.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you want to strip about a 1/2 inch, I think. Yeah, you want to strip off about a 1/2 inch off both sides, but obviously do one at a time. So I'd say that's about a 1/2 inch. Pause it. Okay, so once you get that off, toss that aside, and then you want to twist up the wires. Should look about like that. Then I'll take this, and I did forget to mention a tool that you're going to need. You're going to need something to clamp this down on there with.
Pliers would probably work.
That would probably be the best tool, so I'm going to go and get some of those. Let me see see if this is going to work or not first.
Okay, it's recording.
Great. This isn't going to work.
No?
I don't know how to do this. You want to get that connected on there? I ended up having to use a hammer to smash that sucker on there because metal's super thick and pliers just wasn't cutting it.
Oh, we're kids.
Okay, so next thing, probably put that insulation or whatever the crap that's supposed to be on there back on there in a second. And just a good friend here has measured this out and marked it for us right here. So you want about 18 inches. A little less is probably better.
I marked it at 17 and a half.
Okay, so a little less is probably better. I read that 18 was the max, so we're going with 17 and a half. So you want to cut that there, and one end is going to be stripped. Well, actually all the ends are going to be stripped, and then it's going to get its own one of these on the end of it, and then the end that you cut going to go into one end of the fuse. Then the other end of where it's cut, basically, this fuse is going to be right there, right in that cable, for obvious reasons. Then the other end is going to be stripped and shoved into the amp. What?
The fuse is gonna be right about there for obvious reasons, which we do not know.
You don't know what a fuse is
No,
for?
I was kidding. It was a joke, but I figured it would be funny if like it was said and then I didn't say it and then.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut that real quick and we'll be back.
Okay, now.
Okay, so I got this thing smashed on here. I'm gonna take some electrical tape. Maybe. Wrap it around there nice and good. Start with the whole piece of tape below it, just to make sure that you've got nothing sticking out below it, and then just wrap it nice and good. Tight. You want it tight. Then that's what it should look like. Then, just cause came with it, so we're gonna use it. Take this thing, slide it on this end, and then slide it all the way across over to here, and then it'll pull right back off. Always do that one time.
Just to make sure.
Just make sure. And then just fold up on there like that, just cause. Really don't need to do that if you've got the tape on there, but I'm gonna do it anyway, cause why not? Came with it. It's not like I paid extra for it. Okay, next part. Take one of the sides of the fuse. I'm really hoping it don't matter which side is which.
Oh, but not that side.
Pull that off. Got your key. It's just an Allen wrench. Kit should come with one. If it doesn't, it's just a normal Allen wrench. That right there. Stick the thing in there and loosen it. And what that does, can you see in there?
Wait. Okay.
What that does is when you loosen it, it pulls that thing up so that there's room for you to stick your cable in there. And then once you stick your cable in there, you tighten it back up and it shoves that right down into the cable so it makes the connection. So I'm going to do that real quick. Take this other end that doesn't have the thing on it. Stick it in there.
Did you re-loosen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loosen it a little more. Shove that cable up on in there. And then tighten that key back down. You get that in there and you tighten it up with your lock key. Just wrap some electrical tape on there just double check it. You really don't need to, but there's really no reason not to. Just make sure that it's all insulated and stuff, and then you make sure before you screw that in there and tighten up the key, you stick this thing on here and make sure it's facing the right way. I screwed up with that. Didn't do it. Had to unloosen the key, but ain't that big of a deal unless you've already put your electrical tape on there. So put your electrical tape on after you make sure you have this thing on here. Which is why I strongly encourage that you watch this entire video before you start. because I screw up sometimes. And the point of watching this video is so you don't have to. So then you just take this, tighten that up on there. And that's your 18-inch wire, well 17.5 inch for us. And then you have all the rest of your power wire, both ends stripped. And then do the exact same thing on this side that you just did on this side. And then you're set to go with that.
Make sure to leave the one end stripped.
Yes.
And that's it.
This just stripped, nothing else on there. Your ground cable. This side have this thing on here, and what we're going to do real quick is we're going to do the exact same thing we did with this. We're going to tightly wrap some electrical tape around it, and we're going to stick that thing on there just close. And then leave the other side just like this, just stripped, and that's it. So I'm going to tape this back up, and then we are going to hook it up to the amp. So we'll see you then. What's up, guys? This is Dead Ted here, and I just won a GoPro last night at an arcade. I was up in Frankenmuth. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. It's in, actually down in, up in whatever, wherever it is. It's in Michigan. But I just won this, so that's what I'm gonna start making recordings with when I do tutorials and stuff. So I'm going to finish up the tutorial that me and Disticle started of how to set up your amp and subwoofer. So after you get all that stuff stripped and you got the connectors on the end, on one end of each of the 4-gauge cables, the ground cable and the actual power cable, and you've got the fuse all hooked up and everything, next thing you need to do is to actually install it. And first you got to hook the actual power cable to the battery in your vehicle, wherever that may be. Mine in my Dakota is under my hood, and those of you that have got it, the battery actually in the vehicle, have this part a lot easier than people that do not. Because if it is not, then you're going to have some issues. But so, let's head over to that. Grab my flashlight real quick. Okay, so here's the battery right here. What I did was on this connector, I undid that bolt right there, just unscrewed it, stuck this thing that we taped on there and hammered down and clamped it onto there, put the bolt back through it, and you're good to go. Next thing is that fuse. It's right there. So I had to find a spot way back down under there to put it through the firewall. Then you have to find a spot in your firewall. There's should be little rubber seals that have got cables and crap running through them from the engine bay through the firewall into the cab of the vehicle. This can be very difficult. Some vehicles are easier to find one that'll work than not. Once you find one, cut a hole in it. Not too big of a hole. I just use my pocket knife and put a slit in there. Make sure not to cut any of the cables that are already running through there, because that could cause you all kinds of trouble. So you do that, and then you just stick the end of that cable through and pull it all the way through until it's decently tight. You saw that I didn't have really any slack in the actual engine bay, so that's what you need that to do. And then after that, I've got mine, oh no, let's see if we can see it up under there. I've got my GoPro hooked to my hat. Okay, so, you see, this part of the lights on, I pulled that panel off, and then I shoved it under there, and then took this piece of trim right here off, and ran it all the way through there into the back of the truck. And I'll show you what we got going on back there. Okay, so you got your amp right here. Subs are sitting right there. Don't have a box yet. I'm gonna get one eventually. My uncle might send me one. But so your power goes to right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. But your power goes in one side. It'll be labeled. Power goes into one. Your ground goes into the other. Now what you do is you have your stripped end, no clamp on it or nothing. You stick it in there, and then can you see that without? Yes, you can see that without the flashlight. So I'm gonna put the flashlight down. Okay. So right in there, you probably can't see it right now, but right in there, at the top of where the things go in, there's little screws that you need an Allen wrench for. This is with my amp. Other people might be a Phillips screw, and you might just have a regular clamp that just clamps onto the wire. But with my specific amp, you take your Allen wrench that came with the amp. Unless you lost it, then you'll have to find one that fits. You loosen both of the clamps on them, stick your wire in there, tighten them back down on it, don't do it too tight, and then the power should be good to go for the most part. Then this little red wire right here, you will need to run in this middle one. The label for this will be called it'll say like remote or REM, something like that. And that needs to run to, you may not have one of these. Not all amps have these. But you will need to run that all the way through, and you need to hook it to something that gives off power only when the ignition is on. Because that's how it'll know when your ignition is on, so that it doesn't run your battery dry while your vehicle is not on. So what I did is I ran it in my my head unit, my new head unit that I wired in. I have not mounted it in there yet, so I can still get to all the wires really easy. So I pulled that out and hooked it to the ignition switch for that. I just wired it right into there. You can see on my phone I got the GoPro app and stuff all hooked up so that I can see what you guys can see. So that's what you need to run that to. And you just strip both ends of it and wire it straight into that wire. With the amp right here, you just do the exact same things you did with the power. Then the other thing you need to do is your head unit. In the back of it, there should be RCA outputs on the back of your head unit. They will look, those of you that aren't too young to only have used HDMI your whole life, which I don't know why you'd be hooking up amps if you don't know what those are, but the red, the yellow, and the white cables that you'd plug from your DVD player to your TV, they'll look just like that, except there will only be a red and a white. And then those you run from your head unit all the way back to your amp, wherever that is. And then for mine, they plug in right here. So that's where those go. And then if you've got everything wired up correctly, there should be a little green or red or colored light somewhere telling you that it's getting power and it's working. Then the next thing you need to do is actually wire in whatever you're wiring to your amp. In my case, it's these two subs right here. I've only got this one hooked up. I haven't hooked this one up yet. So what you'll do is you'll cut off your piece of wire, however long you need it to be. I am going to end up having to cut longer ones off when I get my box, most likely. But so you get this, and it has two things connected together. You split them apart, and then you strip each end of it. Each end will get stripped. And then on all 4 of these will have to get stripped. And then after that, there's spots for the speaker wires coming out of here. This is negative, right negative and positive, and left negative and positive. And you gotta wire those into there, and then you're good. Well, you're good with the amp. Then, with my subs, the way these are, is there's a little thing right here. You pull down on, you push up on it, and then you stick the stripped wire into there, and then you let it go and it clamps down onto it, and do that for both of them. Make sure you have the where it says positive on here, make sure it's going to positive on here. We have negative on here, make sure it's going to negative on here. And then you turn on your radio, turn on your music, and it should all work. It's really all there is to it. Ain't that hard? Thing that was the hardest for me was, like I said at the beginning, I didn't know what this cable was for. I didn't know what that was for. My uncle ended up thinking of it, and that's what it's for. It's remote. Make sure that it doesn't drain your battery. So that's really the end of this tutorial, guys. Really all there is to it. So I will see you guys on the next time I make a tutorial. Next one should be that head unit right there. How to wire that head unit in will be what comes out next. Because I started it and I haven't actually finished it, so I'll be finishing that up. And then the next thing will be how to wire in regular speakers. One of the easiest things ever. Definitely the